libertarians sound when they talk. Stupid government making roads that I can drive on and public utilities and the internet. Libertarians are so dumb. They don't even know how society works. It's like, haven't you ever taken a civics class?
Okay. I just had to annoy everyone with that. So, welcome
All
to the
right.
Libertarian Atheist Podcast.
Skypecast. Okay, and today is Thursday, February 16th, 2017. And tonight we have so far Jeremy, Heather, Betsy, John, and Curran. So welcome, everybody.
Hello. I'm getting a message that Adam is ready to come in. If you wanna...
Yep, let me pull Adam in here. Yeah, Jeremy actually made that nice little...
I have there's an animation that actually I gotta fix, but there's an animation I have of, I think it's probably from, I don't know, some sort of leftist rally.
Howdy, folks.
Hello,
Hey,
Adam.
welcome.
How are you?
Good, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Good. Heck, the weather in the Midwest is 70 degrees today.
Oh my gosh, it was beautiful here.
Ah, just gorgeous. I know like a week and a half ago we had snow so bad we couldn't. It took me an hour to get to work.
Yeah.
So, good old
We're
Midwest
supposed
weather.
to have 60s all through next week here in Illinois.
Yep. I know. We're going to get some good stuff done around the outside. That's for sure this weekend. So.
Yeah. So while we're talking about controversial things like the weather,
That is controversial now.
I mean,
You wouldn't
It
think
is.
that the weather would ever be controversial, but it is now.
But it sure is. It sure is.
I love this global warming.
I was kind of thinking that we could maybe have a discussion about free speech, something that libertarians and atheists in general should probably be very strongly in support of. And there's some various bits of news, news stories related to the topic. One that caught my eye today is Bill Maher is going to have Milo Yiannopoulos as a guest.
Oh my gosh!
One of the
really?
one of the panelists on his what's Bill Maher's show called these days?
I don't know, to be honest.
Real waste of time.
Politically
A
incorrect.
real waste of time.
Politically Incorrect was when he was on HBO, if I recall. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, so one of the panelists who was going to be scheduled to be on that show with Milo backed out, of course. Some writer for some leftist publication. No surprise there. I mean, I don't want to make the whole topic about Milo, but of course, there was the hullabaloo about that caused riots when he was trying to speak at Berkeley. Who actually are going to actually allow him to speak? They have him scheduled again to go back to Berkeley, from what I hear.
Really?
Yeah, and apparently the young Republicans or whatever at Berkeley, I think they're going to book Alex Jones for that bit too. So I don't know.
Interesting.
that should be amusing to watch once that gets posted on YouTube.
They're planning on burning down the rest of the campus?
They might. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if, yeah.
They'll have to hunt down their free space or their safe space. So.
Yeah. So yeah. I mean, there's free speech is a hot topic right now because leftists are very, very angry and want to really censor anything that they regard as hate speech or.
I have noticed that too. It's like that shift in the left has gone towards, where they used to be the ones who championed free speech, and now they're the ones who seem to be wanting to restrict a lot of free speech because, you have to be careful what you say half the time. It's ridiculous. And, I mean, not that I am, but,
Right,
but,
that's a given.
yeah, there's an expectation. Of course, I work at a college, so I can't just say whatever I want, But yeah, it would probably, like Jeremy said the other day, I'd probably end up using the gender-neutral proton of fuckface a lot, so.
It is gender-neutral.
Anybody watched the, I totally forgot his name, the Ontario professor who's kind of gone front and center on that?
Oh, yeah, I think
okay.
we listened. I think we listened to something about that one time.
His first name is Jordan, is it not?
Yes, it is. And I listened to a whole
He's the one that
podcast with with him recently, and I can't even remember who hosted it.
Well,
He's the one
Tom
that-
Woods had him on
Yeah.
his show, I think.
Yeah,
But
he was on-
there's been a number of professors who've been, and I should say, they all classify themselves as leftists, and they've been harassed by their own minions. So,
Yeah.
so it's making at least a few of them rethink their political alliances.
There's a leftist schism of sorts going on, and it's driven by the free speech issue. And the professor from Ontario, I believe at the University of Toronto specifically.
Yeah, it's Jordan Peterson.
Jordan Peterson, thank you.
That's it,
Jordan
yeah.
Peterson,
Basically is refusing to use any of the new wave pronouns that the transgender community... actually, it's not even... I mean, I don't know. I don't want to say that the transgender community is adopting it. Because there's not a small portion of transgender folks that are comfortable with male and female pronouns, and that's it. First one that comes to mind, Blair White. She's a YouTuber, transgender woman, and even though she is transgender, still insists that there really are just two genders. There's male and female. I'm not. I agree with that for the most part, but I mean you're leaving out anomalies like intersex people, or can you say hermaphrodites anymore? That's probably wrong.
No, it would be considered inappropriate.
But I mean,
actually, I was told by a nurse that is still the proper medical term.
Oh, but the left won't. The left won't like it. That's what I mean.
It changes every day.
Yeah, because I said before, I went through that safe space training at the university, and only because
gosh, didn't you just want to die?
I thought it would be. It really wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be, and truthfully, I did it because
you elected to do it.
Yes, because if you do the safe space training, basically, you publicize yourself, in the university that way. If any transgendered or gay, lesbian kids or whatever, they feel threatened, they have a place they can come to. They'd be able to come to me, and I'd be like, "You'll be fine here. We'll take care of you." So I did that, because my son is gay, and I wanted to make sure. I thought, well, when my son goes to college, I'd want him to be able to, like, if he felt like he was being bullied or threatened in any way, I'd want him to feel like he had somewhere to go. So I went through the safe space training, and I thought, oh boy, I'm gonna listen to a bunch of SJW Reddick, but I'm gonna do it.
Right.
But it really wasn't as bad. But that's where I learned that the word hermaphrodite was an unacceptable word to use. It's because some people are really offended by that. So yeah. But.
There's
Well,
Go ahead.
Okay. Well, I was just going to ask you real quick. Sorry. Now, does that go both ways, Heather? That is, okay. So if a conservative or a Christian or whatever student feels threatened by, say, maybe the leftist students, can they use you as...
Well, basically, I would be a safe space for anybody, but it's mostly, it's geared towards the LGBTQ kids, so,
Right.
but it could be for anybody who feels threatened.
I imagine there's probably some sort of Republican student committee at the university where you work.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, if members of that organization feel threatened by leftists, can they come to you?
Well,
I mean-
there's many different safe spaces on campus, and they would be able to come to whichever one. If they felt threatened while they were on campus, they could definitely come to one of our spots. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
It's for anybody who feels threatened or scared. It goes for straight people as well, and anybody else. So, but yeah.
So it's I mean, at least on paper, it's not a politicized thing.
No, and they didn't talk about politics. I remember a couple of times somebody tried to start talking about the political climate, because this is right before Trump got elected.
Yeah.
And the people actually running it were like, no, we're not going to talk about politics here. We're going to stick to the topic at hand. So.
Well, that's good that they did that.
Yeah, it was. It was good. I was surprised, but yeah. So it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. But anyway, so.
Now, who did I interrupt? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna ask, because to be honest with you, I still haven't come down on where I stand on this. As far as the gender thing, right? First, and I guess I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but there's all sorts of different people out there. But I don't care what you do. I mean, I think that's a given with libertarianism.
Yep.
But beyond the libertarian standpoint of I don't care, it's your life, do what you want, whatever makes you happy. I genuinely, like, look, life is too short not to be happy.
Yeah.
So if this makes you happy, I'm not just, hey, I'm okay with it, do what makes you happy. I'm like, oh yeah, sure, go ahead. Please, by all means.
Yeah. Same here.
That said, I have a hard time accepting the idea that, yeah, I'm going to call you a she now. Like, okay, so my sister's gay, and we have a great relationship, and I'm really happy for that.
Great.
And I just recently had a friend who I went to school with, who was named Michael, and he showed up in my Facebook one day as Michaela.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay, then this is going to be interesting. And so we talked, and and I just. I promise you, this wasn't a conscious thing, but I kept going, hey man, what's up, and we weren't talking face to face, and he never brought it up, and I didn't really think about it until later. Here I am now saying so you mentioned Blair White earlier.
So you've watched her videos?
I refer to Blair White as a she too, but I think part of that's probably because I never knew her as anything other than her,
Right.
and also because she pulls it off, right?
Oh yeah, she's gorgeous.
But
she really is.
Right, and when I was living in Japan, they've got quite a few celebrities along the lines of a RuPaul that are transgender. I don't know if RuPaul counts himself as transgender, but
he's a
legitimately
cross-dresser.
transgender.
Yeah.
And the realistic ones, I say she because it's just this, it's like a mental default that looks like a woman to me, so I say she. But the ones that don't pull it off, I call he.
Yeah.
And I know that's not a consistent thing to go off of, but for the life of me, I have a very hard time because to me, he and she means X chromosome, Y chromosome. And I'm perfectly willing to acknowledge that and believe, because I think the data supports it from what I've seen so far, that you can be born with a brain that is wired like a female's brain.
Yep. It's been proven.
But I believe that, and I'm and vice versa, obviously. I just have a hard time with this. No, you have to call me she now. And it's, I don't know where I come down on that yet. And I'm not trying to be a jerk about it.
Where does our obligation begin, and where does it end?
And I don't mind calling, if somebody feels like they identify as a female, that's fine. I don't have any problem with it, or male. I guess what always throws me off is people who want to refer to themselves as they or them. I don't really get that so much.
We have a friend that does that.
Yeah, well, I've got more than one friend that does that. But I mean, that's what I don't get. It's like,
I've never even heard of that. Why do they do that?
A lot of people do that. That's like a thing. There's more.
Because it's a gender neutral then.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're transgender, you do it, or just regardless of what?
It depends on what you feel. And that I just don't.
And non-transgender students that I say students, but it's mostly students, I think. But I guess the conflict within me is that words still matter.
Yes.
Words still should mean something.
Yeah.
And I'm not. So the Ontario thing scares the shit out of me because that's just bullying, right? I mean, that's just totalitarianism to me. Of like, if you do this, you're going to get in trouble. Fuck yourself. That just makes me want to do it all the more.
Right.
There was that censorship law in Canada that was passed that Jordan Peterson was really making a stink about too. And I mean, it didn't directly carry a penalty for misgendering someone, but it kind of opened the door for, I think, lawsuits. If you misgender someone, then.
And I could see it happening. I could see that happening. So I'm not. I don't know. I genuinely feel conflicted every time this comes up because I don't know. I don't wish to cause offense to people. It's not my nature to, but at the same time, words have to mean something. And I know
I just think we're pandering. I just think we're
definitions.
pandering way too much to
I
this.
agree with Adam.
Yeah, I mean, me too. I mean, there's a certain point. There's a certain
It's such a
point.
tiny percent of the population.
My obligation as a human being, if my principles are in line with the non-aggression axiom, I don't get to use force against anyone else. And there was a time a generation or two ago where as long as I said, I will never use force against you to stop you from what you want to do or how you want to live your life, they would have applauded me. Mm-hmm. They would have said, great, that's all we want. We just want to be left alone to do what we want to do. That's it.
You say that, but the Libertarian Party wasn't applauded when they took that stance.
Well, I think they were. I think they were in the 70s. I think they were in the 70s because the rest of America was. I know because I grew up in the 70s, and I can tell you that gay rights has come a long way since then.
Oh yeah.
I mean, they're mainstream now, which is great. I'm happy for them.
Right.
Now I want to celebrate my heterosexuality the same way. I can't do it. Mm-hmm. I'm prohibited from doing that. I can't flaunt my heterosexuality like they can flaunt their homosexuality.
Because you're cis.
I don't know why.
You're cis scum.
Yeah.
I guess. I'm a breeder scum, whatever it is.
Fucking
whatever
white
it is.
male.
I don't have the same rights. In fact, I can't even be offended for being a heterosexual.
Do we think that this is going to last? Or is this just a short-term thing?
I can't see it. It's not sustainable. I don't.
There's kind of a pendulum theory for politics and political discourse.
Besides, I mean, and that's one of the reasons why we've seen people like Donald Trump. Well, why Donald Trump won the presidency, because people are sick and tired of this ultra weirdness coming out of the left.
I view that as like that's what scares me. Exactly what you're saying is what scares me, because I thought this movement is starting to eat itself alive. The identity politics is starting to eat itself alive. But my concern now is that Donald Trump's election has breathed new life into it.
Well,
where they are now like now we really got to go.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And my concern is that the pendulum swung, but it swung so extremely that it's going to be back with a vengeance. I mean, not back, but it's going to resurge now.
And that's why you see the alt-right. That's why you see the alt-right
without merit.
That's right.
Trump is not a racist.
Yeah.
He's not.
But it doesn't matter. Look, I understand and I agree, obviously, but that's irrelevant to them. They couldn't care less if there's truth behind what they're saying.
They're just completely vilified him, and they're not going to stop until they just. It's insanity, and that's why now you've sparked the alt-right too. You sparked this movement. You see these young white males.
That's the reaction,
who,
sure.
Yeah,
but the regressive left is being called out by other leftists, and that's the best thing that could possibly happen.
But that's
I'm loving Dave Rubin and his show.
Oh my gosh, yeah, he's great.
Yes.
The pendulum swing I brought up, though, is kind of the scary thing, because, if the pendulum has swung so far to the left and the rhetoric has gotten so preposterous at this point, basically, are we going to see an equal, just swing all the way to the right? I mean, I don't
think we will.
You don't think you don't think we're going to have an equal and opposite reaction?
Oh, no. Here's what I'm saying. I think the Republicans, or the right, I wouldn't call them Republicans, but I think the Republicans were hoping to God to swing that pendulum back in the other direction. But they made their bed with Trump. And Trump is a one-term president. I mean, he's going to... He has not catalyzed, but, he has set the opposition in such defiance to him that there's no way he's going to get a second term. He's going to alienate too many people that voted him in this time, and he's going to catalyze the opposition to the point where there's no way. But
I just don't know what's going to happen 4 years from now.
I don't see the pendulum swinging back. Yeah, the pendulum's swinging back and forth, but my concern is not that it's swinging back and forth. It's that it's gaining in altitude with each swing, It's a kid on a swing set. It's not getting less.
Right.
And the only way I see that you stop that pendulum is to rechannel it, to refocus the energy of it.
Uh-huh.
So, for example, as somebody who lived in Japan, Japan was like, we are going to conquer the world. We are the greatest people in the world. And then they got 2 atomic bombs dropped on them. And it was suddenly, among other things, and then suddenly it was like, okay, we are the greatest businessmen in the world. We're the greatest. No, I mean seriously, and like everything in Japan is all about cutesy now. The street signs for road work ahead, they're all little cutesy rabbit characters wearing construction uniform. Everything is cutesy, and it's like they swung that pendulum, but not so much as swung the pendulum. They threw the pendulum away, and they said let's take that momentum and throw it into something entirely different.
Do they have Hello Kitties too?
Oh yeah.
That's
I
love Hello Kitty.
You can't even they use little cartoon characters like Hello Kitty to sell tampons.
Oh, that's cute.
Oh, I buy them.
Adorable.
Why did they get those here?
I'd buy them too, and I don't even use them.
In Japan, though, I mean, isn't the right-wing political party in Japan, aren't they actually really far right? I mean, like...
No.
Okay.
It's hard to explain. Like, Abe... It depends on how you want to say it. Like, on social matters, yes, they're pretty far right.
Okay.
But then again, their opposition isn't that far right when it comes to social issues either. On economic matters, they're both kind of left, So, Keynesian rules the day.
Yeah.
For three damn decades, they've been listening to Keynesian and Paul Krugman, and well, one of these decades it's going to work for us. It hasn't worked for the last 3 decades. I mean, they went from the lost decade to the lost generation, and now it's the lost whatever. They haven't even given it a name because they're
pushing
on
a century.
Years now. Yeah. So where does it end? I don't know.
There'll be a response from America's right, but it's not going to return anything to where it was before. No, you're not going to stop whatever progress the gay community has made, and the transgender community has made. They're not going to go back, and that's a good thing. That's fine. You don't want to go backwards, but there will be a response, and maybe it'll even things out a little bit, because that's what you want. You want an end to the nonsense. And
I don't see that.
And I'll be honest with you. If I'm a gay or transgender person and I have the least amount of sensitivity to others that I expect from others, I'm thinking to myself, hey, people have to be a little confused. Mm-hmm. And so we have to cut them a little slack, because this is really... It is different. Somebody with some awareness within that community has to say, everything used to be really easy. It was either he or she. And he was with she and she was with he. And now it's anything goes. So, cut people a little slack. Give them a little time to get used to things.
But see, you say that because you're not the Twitter generation.
Yeah.
That's right.
Thank God.
No, but I mean that in all sincerity. That's, ideas spread so fast now because everybody's connected, except to the red states where people are busy farming or doing manual. They're not on Twitter, and they're the older generation. They're not on Twitter, and so these ideas don't percolate up to them as far, or down to them as quickly.
You mean they're not thinking before they put these ideas into action?
No, I'm saying one day I walked into a store and everybody that was a woman had a dress on, and everybody that had jeans on was, not everybody, but, and then the next day I walked into a store and I saw a guy in a dress and I went, what the fuck? Everybody looked at me and went, you piece of shit, bigot, and you know what I mean? Like, and everybody and here's this guy who 1 second was like normal Joe Blow, and now all of a sudden everybody's, excoriating him in public, going, oh, you're a piece of crap.
Right.
And he's thinking, what the hell just happened?
Right.
Because the gay right, so civil rights took what, 60 years for the African American community? Yeah. And then the gay rights movement took 30 years. But most of the gay rights advances took place within the last 10 and even 5 years. It went lightning fast.
Yeah.
And then it was just like this assumption that everybody had of, all right, let's ride this wave and let's get through the next thing. And they just started shoving it, whether people were ready for it or not. And I think people would be open and accepting to this if it weren't being shoved down their throat.
I think there's an underlying reason why it's being pushed so hard, because maybe with the new technology there is the chance that they may figure out biologically what the causes of a person being transgender, gay. And there's nothing wrong with my opinion, but it could be also the possibility that if they figure it out biologically, that people may, with the technology, decide that they don't want their child that way and may decide that make corrections in utero. And if that's the possibility, that's a huge threat to the transgender and gay community. I can see where certain things from the biological standpoint could come through. Not saying they will, but it's a hypothetical, and I can see why they want to push things now on the social level to normalize things. So then a person, when that technology comes up, well, I can't do that. That's not right. They want people to think along that line, so they're trying to shift the social norms.
That's a good point.
I can see it along that lines.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't have a problem with that, and that's what I'm saying. Get the conversation going.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't have a conversation by telling everybody who doesn't instantly agree with you that you're a piece of shit.
Yeah. That's right.
True.
I want to expand on what Curran was saying, because that's interesting, because the LGBT gay rights movement. I'm trying to be politically correct, even though I'm kind of against that.
You don't have to. You're among friends.
Yes. So for the homos. No, I'm just kidding. Okay. It was, the understanding was, hey, we can't help it. This is how we're born. This is who we are. And then with the way that gender identity is being approached now, is like gender is a social construct and it's fluid, and you can be whatever gender you want or in between. And it is kind of this double thing that's going on.
Right.
Where and it seems like maybe like Curran was saying that okay, if it becomes conclusive that people are transgender or they're homosexual or bisexual or whatever orientation or gender they are, because of genetics, because of the way they're born, then that can kind of lead to almost maybe a soft eugenics type of situation, and therefore puts that whole demographic at great risk. So to say that things like sexuality and gender are social constructs kind of allows it to perpetuate.
I have to disagree with you describing it as eugenics, though.
That's why I said soft eugenics.
Yeah, but I'm not even comfortable with you saying it that way.
Okay.
Because I mean, that's the science of attraction, right? I mean, it seems to me like more along the lines of the science of attraction, right? There was a case in Hong Kong a couple of years ago, I think, where some guy married a girl. They had kids. The kids turned out to be ugly little monsters.
Right.
And only then did the husband find out that she'd had like $300,000 worth of plastic surgery done, and he sued his wife.
Wow.
That's hilarious.
I've heard about this. Yeah.
This podcast just became the National Enquirer.
But this really happened, right? So it was okay. So the ridiculous story aside, is that you look for a partner, whether consciously or subconsciously, who you think is going to give your kids the best chance that you can provide, right? Like,
right.
So if you're a 10, you're going to go for a 10. If you're a 3, you're going to go for a 4, I guess. And if you don't make it, well, then you get another 3. But
I like 2s. They're easier to catch.
But my point being is that that's human nature, is to, and again, I want to stress that I don't think most of this takes place on the conscious level. It's just
it's not just human
your
nature.
genes go, that looks hot.
Every species does that. You ever watch birds try to, catch a mate?
Right.
I mean, it's
say that this is like a soft eugenics. Right.
What I'm saying,
I would consider this, like I want to give my kid every possible chance to be the most successful, and this would be something difficult that they would have to struggle with. And
Right.
then there's the issue of especially with transgender, the high suicide rate. And do I want to roll that dice for my kid? No, I don't. To say eugenics implies like you are trying to steer.
Force.
What's that?
It implies force. Eugenics.
It implies force rather
Total
than
control.
choice. Yeah.
Mhm.
And I just can't get behind it for that. I can't get behind using that term.
Selective breeding, then, I guess, maybe. You know,
Right.
if it
Sure.
comes through, it's like, oh, okay, so, oh, great, we're pregnant. Oh, look, the blood test came back. Our baby is going to be gay. Maybe we should get an abortion and try for a straight one, because I don't want them to deal with that challenge when they're growing up, you know.
But there is also a possibility that a gay couple with technology may be able to have a gay kid, and they're going to have a gay kid, and it may be the case that part of society will not go away. It will just in and of itself. So I don't see the technology as being positive or negative, just a matter of who uses it and what to do with it, though.
I'll tell you what's interesting, and I'm waiting, and I think it'll happen in my lifetime, that they can take two male and/or two female different sets of chromosomes. So, you know, take two eggs or take two sperm and combine them in an in vitro style to make legitimate offspring that are of the two homosexual parents.
Theoretically, you can do pretty much anything you want with stem cells, so...
You can't do it yet. They've tried, but it still could very much happen. And so, yeah, I mean, to say that you're like wiping them out, no. I mean, like if I was gay and I wanted to have a gay son, I could say, yeah, I want to have a gay son. Let's reverse that process. Let's make sure he is gay or she is gay or whatever.
But in regards to why do they push for societal change to accept people and forcefully to accept change, making people, dragging people along, I don't know why the push from the left is so hard right now, because they should understand all this stuff takes time. It took 20 to 30 years for American society to accept people as being gay. I can remember my grandparents on one of the old TV sitcoms were upset because one of the characters was gay.
Yeah.
There wasn't any kissing or anything going on. He was just gay.
Was it remember when Ellen came out for the first time?
Oh yeah, that tanked her career for a while.
Yeah.
That tanked her career for a while.
It did.
That
really
the
bad.
breakthrough. And when was that? That was in the 80s at some point, probably, or maybe
90s.
late 80s, early 90s. Okay, 90s probably.
Yeah,
but
definitely 90s.
I mean, look how far it's come since just that point.
Yeah.
So the transgender thing, they do. I mean, and that's even, I don't know. That seems to me, and this shows my bias, I guess, even stranger. I mean, it's just strange to me, like John was saying, that if you see a man that's obviously a man dressed up like a woman, it's hard for me to not think, oh, okay.
Yeah, but it's strange to you if the person's not passing. If the person is passing, they look like a woman, you wouldn't think anything about it.
Yeah. And you know what? I've said this before. There's an older woman at the health club that I didn't even know used to be a guy.
Oh, wow.
She's in the women's locker room, and she worked at Caterpillar for 40 years, and another co-worker of hers, we're all in the locker room, and this woman looks very masculine, and she's kind of, like, her hair is just ridiculous, and I would always think, why doesn't she do something with her hair? and she's got to be in her late 60s at least, but she was really athletic and stuff, and really nice. Her name's Joanne, and I talk to her all the time. Well, then I was standing at the counter drying my hair or something. This other gal says to me, you know, Joanne used to be a guy. And I was like, what? And she wasn't in there at the time. And then this woman said, yeah, she worked with her at Caterpillar. And when she kind of came out and started dressing as a female and all that, everybody was abuzz. You know, it was probably back in the 80s or 90s. And people got called into the boss's office and said, okay, you guys need to stop talking about her, you know, to him, her, whatever.
Yeah.
Because people got reprimanded because back then it was like, did you know that they were all gossiping? And,
oh, yeah.
And it was just, and that's human nature.
Yeah.
I mean, but I don't think anything of it at all. I mean, it doesn't, it doesn't affect, like, so that's like what you said, I didn't realize. And so now I know her as a person, and I don't care. It doesn't affect how I talk to her or treat her or anything.
Yeah.
So getting back to the topic of free speech.
Yeah, okay, great.
From the
Stop
left,
trying to derail our train.
well, if anyone listens to this podcast, they're going,
Like,
what happened to the beginning of it? It's just nothing but derailed trains. It's like going down a hill, and there's multiple drivers, and it's chaotic. I can't keep up. So,
You got a good point, because, let's talk about free speech, and then we spend 45 minutes talking about gender politics. So, anyway, go ahead, please, Kurt,
well,
please.
that's what's going on currently right now. We have an issue with free speech, and people not being allowed to use free speech. It being shut down, where you have the left that says, "Oh, that's okay to shut down because it's not correct speech."
Mm-hmm.
So as long as the speech is within a narrow confines, what is free speech, that is allowed, that is approved. But if it goes beyond that, then it's not allowed. I've wrote online before to people that I will stand up for a person who's Nazi, even though I think they're an ass. I don't think anything they say is truth, but I will stand up for their right to say what they have to say, because that is what free speech is. It's not this comfortable, fuzzy, warm feeling that people think it is. It's only about certain things. No, free speech means you're going to hear a lot of nasty, horrible things that people are going to say.
Yeah, it's there to protect the speech you don't agree with. You don't need free speech to protect the speech you do agree with.
Exactly.
There's no speech.
Yesterday, Stefan Molyneux, who is, someone I years ago was a fan of, and now I just kind of groan at the sound of his name. I don't know about the rest of you, but he actually put out a very good video discussing the topic of free speech, and the video, of course, is called "Why Free Speech is the Only Thing That Matters." It is a Molyneux video, so after about the first 10 to 15 minutes, you just kind of lose interest as he drones on with his waxing philosophic, just forever. But he opens really strong. He really provides some good historical examples to back up his case. It's a good video, and I would recommend watching at least the first 10 to 15 minutes. Every Molyneux video.
Did he mention that free speech is crucial for human progress?
As a matter of fact, he did. That was actually pretty much probably one of the central themes to his talk there. Yes. So I've really been a Molyneux hater for the past couple years, but this video was actually pretty good.
It's nothing original.
No.
That idea's been around a while. And a lot of Molyneux stuff is just reformulated, repackaged.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, he delivers his message he's kind of like the Morgan Freeman of the alt-right. He's very very pleasing to listen to. He's got that. This is Stefan Molyneux. You're listening to Free Domain Radio.
I just find him too obnoxious.
He is.
To
He
listen
really.
to, and he's just not original enough. I think if he was unique in his content, he's a bit startling in his presentation technique. I'll give him that. But there's just not enough. There's not enough fresh to what he's saying. But I do want to introduce another angle to this SJW politically correct. Regressive left intent to stifle free speech. And I heard this on one of the Tom Woods shows. I'll try to post it when I find the episode. But somebody contends that these folks really aren't interested in people's rights at all. They could care less. What they're interested in is the power that they have over changing a culture and getting a culture to behave the way they want a culture to behave. They get off on assuming that role. that they're just in love with the authority that they have over others.
I think that's pretty
and
accurate.
This is the way they do it.
I think that's pretty accurate, Adam, really. No, I mean...
So again, I don't know who it was. It might have been a guy named Bob Murphy.
But do you think that that's unique to the left?
No.
Oh, no, I'm not saying that. I'm just
I
trying
would say that's human nature.
I'm just trying to give another angle to this SJW stuff, that it's not all altruism.
Yeah, no, I mean that's almost too obvious to even state.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that that's true of every single person, to include everybody in this conversation right now, is that we all want to. So there's a difference between, like, okay, so the principle thing, like you were saying earlier, you know, I might think you're a Nazi and I might hate what you say, but I'm going to defend your right to say it. But that takes conscious will on your part.
Yeah.
Right? Because your initial reaction is going to be, I want you to shut the fuck up. And it takes conscious effort for you to run that through your filter of, these are my principles, therefore I am not going to do that, right?
Right.
So
I think it also takes the golden rule. I think it comes down to that too. Is that if I let somebody speak and say what they want, even if it's a Holocaust denier, and I support the right of Holocaust deniers to say whatever they want, because I want those schmoes out in the open. That's the best place to have them, not contained somewhere in the dark where you can't see them.
Yeah.
You want them to make fools out of themselves. You want them to come forward and just tell the world how ludicrous they are. So, but if I let them say whatever they want to say, then maybe somebody else will let me say what I want to say.
Yeah. It's kind of to paraphrase a joke, you know, if you're gonna ban bigots, people are just gonna, you know, cook bigots in their bathtubs illegally. So, I don't know, terrible joke. So I guess one thing I think that's interesting, at least, is we're all pretty much old enough to remember that, you know, and this probably came about because of Reagan, when the right wing kind of dominated the social conversation and social discourse, where the threat of censorship was coming from the right, the conservative wing of not just politics, but, you know, society at large. The satanic panic of the 80s.
Yep.
Is a good example of that.
The rock music stuff, when, who was it? Who was the wife?
Oh, that was Al Gore.
That was Tipper Gore.
That was Tipper
Tipper
Gore.
Gore, that's right.
I mean, Tipper Gore was a Democrat, but it was still a very conservative.
And she had, what's his name? Who was it? Who was the rock star that went before that?
Oh, that was Frank Zappa?
No, it was the one that, we're not going to take it.
Dee Snider.
Oh, yeah, Dee Snider.
Yeah, Dee Snider. Remember, there's clips of him going before some committee or something. Pretty funny.
Yeah.
And he was really intellectual and intelligent, and nobody could believe it, you know?
There was a lawsuit against Judas Priest, too, about the supposed backmasking. And
Did you ever see...
Oh, the backmasking.
Yeah.
I forgot about that.
Oh,
So
my,
swear
yeah.
I won't take this off the tracks, but did you ever see the interview with Marilyn Manson on Bill O'Reilly?
I did.
No.
That was a good one. Also,
I mean, if you want to talk about a guy who's surprisingly, like, intellectual,
Yes.
I was like, where the hell did this guy come from?
no, he's well read. Marilyn Manson, indeed, yeah.
You really realize what stage presence means when you talk to these people, you know, when you hear them.
Yeah. But I mean, what the interesting thing is, okay, so, and I mean, yeah, even though Tipper Gore was a Democrat, it was still a very conservative movement that she had with the,
Yes.
what was...
it was censoring lyrics and putting the
what was her
censor label
organization
on
called? Something,
album. What was
Parents,
that?
something, I don't know.
I mean, it was like, this was the age of cop
But
killer.
it was never as
stuff.
bad as it is now. And I was a leftist back
That
then.
was
I can
mild
tell
at
you.
the time. Really, when you think about it, that was
Yeah, if
mild.
I have to make a comparison, that was a blip. I mean, I was opposed to them screwing around with record albums,
Yeah.
but they didn't censor the music. I mean, technically,
No.
you could buy
They just
anything. It's just
warning
children couldn't buy it.
Yes, and they
Or children could buy them, but they had to get permission from their parents or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
ridiculous. Right.
And when when Slayer put out Rain and Blood with their satanic heavy metal songs back in the 80s, you didn't see conservative Christians starting fires and riots like we
burning
see
down record stores.
like we see now.
Well, it wasn't like John Lennon and his Jesus remark or something like that.
That's because all the good Christian kids took their Slayer records and covered them up with striper covers.
Yes.
I love it. That's right.
Oh, it wasn't nearly as bad in the 80s. It really wasn't.
The motivation is similar, though. I mean, they wanted people to, to have the correct thoughts, speak in the correct speech, have the right ideas and to.
But it was largely unsuccessful because they never banned what they wanted to eliminate certain things, and they weren't successful at it. The only thing they could do is put warning labels on it, which actually made the product even that much more enticing to kids.
Oh, absolutely.
Because they wanted to know what the hell was being banned.
They didn't get any massive change in government to do it. You know what I mean?
No, there was. I don't remember anything that was ever kept from the public. Unlike today, where
That's right.
you if you say something today, your whole career could be in jeopardy.
Exactly.
This is true.
So I think that the biggest change will come, as it always does, when the SJWs have kids, and their kids look at their parents and go, "You're so full of shit." I'm seriously though, right?
It will probably take a generation.
That's what we all tend to do, right? I mean, we all look at our parents' faux
We
pas,
filter out,
and then we go, "You screwed this all up," and then I'm so
Sure,
much smarter, and then we go off and make our own stupid ass mistakes.
But they're different ones.
They're different ones, but,
Right.
But they're I mean, it's just like raising kids. You're gonna screw your kids up, but don't feel bad because they're gonna screw their kids up.
People are claiming to notice that now. I mean, about kids born, 2000 from the year 2000 and later, that I guess maybe probably as those kids are, they're teenagers, they're in high school now. If they're born in the early 2000s, they're not as receptive to the radical left rhetoric. That's kind of in vogue now.
Define radical.
I don't know. I have some in my
that's up to
neighborhood.
Bernie Sanders supporters.
Yeah, I was gonna say I have some in my neighborhood that are pretty they're all in favor of the Trump and the anti-Trump women stuff, and my neighbor's daughter was watching all that crap and all up in arms with Madonna, all that bullshit,
Yeah, remember when we thought that was crazy?
She's like 16.
Well, I mean,
and so they're either going to.
What about 4chan? The website 4chan. That's a forum that's mostly just really stupid memes and porn, but it also is a lot of teenagers that have these far right political ideals.
Mm-hmm.
I shall go check it out for research purposes only.
Yes, I'm with you. Why don't I know about this? Somebody's going to say.
I am only interested in the articles, damn it.
I'm just in it for the
I don't
pictures.
know. It's pretty low quality content, honestly. But
I mean,
no, I've seen some of the memes.
4chan was the birthplace of Anonymous.
It was.
And 4chan was the birthplace of oh crap. Now I'm kind of forgetting but like 4chan has spawned a lot of countercultural movements.
It has.
Some very much in opposition to each other, but all having the same kind of countercultural idea. So it's not like a guarantee that it's going to spin the way you want, right? Because I mean, I have sympathies towards Anonymous, but they're such douchebags at the same time.
Yeah. I think 4chan was probably pretty key. I mean, I wouldn't say the source or the key to the formation of the alt-right, but I think they're pretty key in the formation of the alt-right. They played a significant role in it. The political forum on 4chan. It's where a lot of the alt-right has formulated their ideas, and those users, they're, teenagers that are in high school or, the early years of college.
Right.
I just think it's very natural for young people to gravitate toward the left. it's just the way it is. And you're young, you're naive, you think you equate the left with certain charitable principles. I mean, it's wrong, but and hopefully you outgrow it by the time you reach the end of your 20s.
Yeah, there's
but not all kids are that way. Some are child labor, and they automatically are right.
Yeah.
So that's a few though.
I can't remember the name of the gentleman, but there's a Soviet bloc era, and from that region, politician, and he said that if you are in your 20s and you're not a socialist, you have no heart, and if you're in your 40s and you're a socialist, you have no brain.
Right. Yeah, that was attributed to Winston Churchill too.
Okay.
That's interesting. Yeah, that's a good.
Right. So hopefully outgrow it, but there are a lot of old leftists out there, and they're maybe the most pathetic bunch. Because it's kind of like seeing 70-year-old rock stars.
I guess
something that doesn't go.
Here's the problem though, and here's what doesn't get fixed: is that they're going to colleges that are filled with teachers who pump their heads full of this crap. And then they take it one step further, and then they become the teachers of tomorrow because they're not qualified to do anything else, right? Like, if I got a degree in lesbian dance theory, then the only thing I'm qualified to do in this world is be a further teacher of lesbian dance theory, right? So
that's been the pattern for generations.
No, it has
been the pattern since the 60s.
But it's more extreme.
It's more extreme because 30 years ago, the ratio was, I think it was 2 to 5, conservative versus liberal. And now it's, if you're talking about just the hard sciences, economics and stuff, I think it's 2 to 7. But if you're talking,
today, they are.
But if you look at the social subjects, and my brain is not working right now, but if you look
humanities
at humanities, thank you. If you look at the humanities, that's like 30 to 1.
Yeah.
You mean 30? Are you talking about
30 liberal teachers to 1 conservative?
Okay.
And the one conservative just has to keep his head down and keep his mouth
I
shut.
don't think they'd even get hired. You know what I mean? If they knew about it now.
The conservative humanities teacher is the one that's got tenure and
right,
and it's very hard to fire.
Yeah.
But through all of it, the libertarian movement is growing among the youth.
Right.
Well,
are you guys optimistic about that, though?
Well,
no.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to grow to a point where in the near future it's going to have any significant impact on the political.
I did hear a podcast where someone said, and this might have also been on Tom Woods, that they expect libertarian ideology or libertarian membership to grow during the age of Trump.
Really?
Incredibly, yeah.
I don't buy it.
From where though? I mean, if it's going to grow, where?
From everywhere, from the left and from the right.
I don't buy it because I read Rothbard, and he was like, before I'm dead, it's going to be the third big major party, and we're going to be, we're going to be winning elections. And it was like, I'm sorry, buddy. I wish you lived to see it.
Well, Murray made a few mistakes.
And I think, I think that in addition to that, and God, I know this sounds terrible, but they're only going to do the party disservice. Because you're going to get people like Bill Maher that go, oh, I'm a libertarian. And then they're going to come in, and they're going to be the ones that dilute the parties. So, I mean, it depends on if you're talking about libertarianism as a party or libertarianism as a... Because I have no faith in the libertarian party.
Look what's happened the last 10 years. I mean, Ron Paul did more for the libertarian ideology than the Libertarian Party did for the previous 30 years.
Sure, I can agree with that, but Ron Paul's not there anymore.
So is...
No. And let's be honest, Rand ain't his dad.
No. He isn't. I don't know what's going to happen, and it'll be interesting to see if the movement grows.
So, as a former leftist myself, I do take and it's a popular idea amongst libertarians. I kind of take exception to the idea is like, well, we need to stop trying to appeal to the left and trying to attract people from the left. They're a lost cause and they're of no use to us. I used to be, really far left in my beliefs and and now I'm quite libertarian. So I don't think it's wise to write off the left for libertarians.
Yeah, that's
I agree with you, and I don't ever remember
well, you were
any
leftist,
prominent
weren't you, Al?
libertarian saying that they should dismiss the left.
Oh,
Yes, I was. I came from.
You were a left.
I did come from the left. Yes,
Right.
I think that.
But I didn't support. I deplored censorship. I didn't want the government telling me what I could listen to, or ingest.
Right.
And so I was anti-government in a lot of ways. Well, the only thing I had to lose was I had to give up the idea that somehow government owed me something like a college education.
Sure.
I had to give up on that. That was easy to do because when libertarianism was explained to me, that it was an arrangement. You get this, but you have to give up that. And so it was a good deal. It was the art of the deal. So I took it. And that's how, but if I had been a full-fledged government is lovely and it's wonderful and it could solve everything kind of leftist, I don't know where I'd be today. I would like to think that I still would have made the change.
One of the things I love about being libertarian, and it's the same thing that I hate about being libertarian. Everybody assumes that I am secretly working for the party that's in favor right now.
Yeah.
Right? So everybody right now thinks like, oh yeah, you really support Trump. Shut up. And I'm like, no. Or, and then when it was Obama, it was the exact opposite, right?
Yep.
So
every time.
But that's also, I think, libertarians' greatest strength. So for me, it has been. I don't give up on either side, but I only try to do one person at a time. And I can be the Trojan horse that goes, yeah, man, you know what? That's totally true. You should have the right to marry whoever you want because it's none of the government's damn business. And you kind of get them going down this line, and then you go, and also,
Yeah.
And just 9 times out of 10 they go, fuck you. But every now and then you get somebody that goes, what?
If you remain true to your principles, you'll attract their curiosity.
The thing that turns people off, and it happens with the right too, because a lot of Republicans love welfare just as much as Democrats, let's be honest. But I mean, as soon as you start to argue against their favorite social program, that's where you get the middle finger, or they plug their ears and go la 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 la. I don't want to hear it.
Well, that's why you have to be creative. You have to give them, let's say, Harry Brown's libertarian offer. Would you trade in your favorite government program for the ability never to pay income taxes again, for the ability of your children and your grandchildren never to pay income taxes again? And you'll be surprised how many of them can't even come up with a favorite government program.
What about the roads?
What
about
most of them don't even get that far.
I think the right is pretty married to the military.
Yeah.
I don't think you're ever going to convince somebody on the right that military can be provided.
Yeah, but you don't do it the same way. You don't give the people on the right the great libertarian offer. What you say to the folks on the right is, well, you want to save money, don't you? You don't want to waste money. You don't want to waste the taxpayers' money. So you want to spend every military dollar as efficiently as you can, correct? And they usually agree with that. And then you start into, America's not the policeman of the world. You don't need.
Right.
You
why
don't
do we have
need,
all these troops in other countries?
Right. Why do we? Yeah, exactly.
Republicans love to complain about foreign aid, and if you can illustrate to a Republican how the invasion and occupation of other countries is almost always the precursor to foreign aid.
Yeah, right. No, that's perfect. That's perfect. No taxpayer. Just say, do you think your tax dollars should go to aid Saudi Arabia? And of course, 9 out of 10 conservatives will say absolutely not.
They're terrorists.
Yeah. And
So then you say, well, why should it go to Israel? And then they might say, but Israel's an ally. How? How is Israel an ally? Tell me something. What does Israel do for us?
But
I've
there
never
are,
heard
I know
anybody
exactly what
answer
they're going to
that.
say. I know exactly what they're going to say. They're
It's
going
God's-
to say that they keep the Middle East in check. That that's the reason up until recently that we didn't need any bases in the Middle East. Because Israel was our base de facto.
Well, I would want some.
part-
So what they're saying is, if Israel disappeared from the face of the earth tomorrow, that somehow the Middle East would become more unbalanced than it is now.
They would say that. They
Yeah.
wouldn't be able to back it up, but that would be their argument.
yeah.
I know this because that would have been my argument.
Well, then I would say, well, how did the U.S. survive before 1948?
Because the state of Israel didn't.
Didn't
They're gonna,
exist.
okay, yeah, but what I'm going to say is, again, I'm trying to channel my former self. They went in there, they stirred up a hornet's nest, which brought us in there, which stirred up the hornet's nest, and now, well, we can't leave them out now.
Yeah.
We got to support them. They're our guys, so we gotta stick it out with them.
but
You're not going to get through to them that way.
But there's the aspect on, not the libertarian aspect, but the anti-atheist aspect, the conservative right, the religious right, that'll back Israel no matter what they do.
Right.
Because it's God's chosen people.
That's what I was
So
going to say. Yeah.
That's the problem with saying, oh, Israel base. I don't think a
Future
lot of
Christian
conservatives, it's so much a base is
Converts.
if we turn our back on, this is what they would say. I don't believe it. I think it's a bunch of BS. But if we turn our back on Israel, we're turning our back on God.
That's right.
So it goes to the fundamental faith. So I don't think you can shake a lot of conservatives when it comes to supporting, sending billions of US dollar aid to Israel, because
That'd be the last. Yeah, I think Israel would be the last country they would not support. I mean, I think they give up support to any country that's going to do.
I think
Well,
you know.
yes, because they have ulterior motives.
I think in terms of this,
Yeah, they
maybe
want-
Israel's
they want
not
the final coming to happen.
yeah.
Right.
Right,
It's
so
all
they can
set up.
convert all the Jews.
Yep, all the prophecies and all that.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
Remember all that, John?
No, I just this brings up conversations that I hate. My mother.
Well, you're not going to convert everybody on the left or right, but
No,
people
I'm just-
are coming over to the libertarian side, and they're starting to rethink their political philosophy, and they're saying, yeah, this stuff's just not working. Libertarians might have a good alternative. What I really fear about this Trump presidency is if it fails, do you think people will see Trump as not a Republican, but more of an independent rogue, someone who is outside of politics? And then will they conclude, you see, we put somebody in the White House that wasn't your standard politico, and he couldn't fix the problems. So why should we give it to the Libertarians or the Green Party or whoever?
Because
another
they're-
independent party.
You don't have to worry about that because their guy will be the one that fucks it up next.
Yeah.
Which,
I'm being serious. Right now the Republican Party is splintered in two. You've got the ones that are never Trump Republicans, and you've got the ones who are. I don't give a damn if you're a Republican or what you are. I just want somebody with a big fist to punch these people in the face and tell them to shut the hell up.
So
and
what
I
you're
think
saying
that
is
same thing is happening on the left, though, right? So you've got the Bernie Sanders and you've got the Hillary
And
Clinton
Hillary.
supporters, and I think the Bernie Sanders supporters are pissed
They are.
at
They
what
are.
went down, and they are going to be the ones that are going to be pushing. Whether it's Bernie Sanders or his heir apparent, whoever that is, they're going to be pushing, and they are going to splinter the Democratic Party big time next time around.
So
Is that what they're saying, Curran? Because you've been on that Bernie group.
I've been
page.
reading their post, and they're
Yeah.
saying that they want to literally destroy the Democratic Party. Put it under, 6 feet under, and get rid of it completely. And if you even mention Hillary on there, they get so hostile. Not that I
Really?
mentioned Hillary, other people posting stuff about there, like her coming back in 2020 and running. And oh my goodness, there were so many people upset about that. Even though it was a fake post, it was funny to see their reaction. They have such a visceral towards towards the Democratic Party.
Now, Curran, did you see? Did they link in that group the Politico article that came out a few days ago? Where so it was clickbait because it said Hillary Clinton is running for president in 2020. If you read the article, it doesn't say that she's confirmed, but the writer was making the argument that she's in campaign mode already, and she appears like she's at least leaving it open to running again in 2020. And the writers suggested also that if she indeed does run for 2020, that she's just going to get the nomination again. Which obviously, and what the writer says, and I agree, which would mean we get 8 years of Trump. Because, I mean, let's be honest. If the Democrats give the nomination to Clinton again, that's the final nail in the coffin, really, isn't it?
I just want to ask John a quick question. So what you're saying is no matter who gets in after Trump, whether Trump is just in for 4 years or 8 years, no matter who gets in, whether it be a Democrat or Republican, that person is going to screw things up. So we don't have to worry that we don't have to worry about any negative repercussions against libertarians or another third party.
I get it. I mean, I haven't really thought about it that deeply. I'm just saying that it's kind of hard to take the argument seriously because nobody takes the Libertarian Party seriously. You know what I mean? But
that's right.
But by the same token, yeah, I think that the next president is going to be a leftist populist, and they're going to fuck it up just as bad. So they're not going to be able to say, "Oh, it was because this damn outsider." You know, it isn't going to. I don't think they're going to go, "Well, outsiders don't know what they're doing." I think there's still a genuine, even with Trump's ascension, there's still, even on the left, a genuine desire to get all of these politicians the hell out of there and replace them with some. It's just, as is always with party politics, it should have been my guy, not your guy, or my gal, or whatever.
This is a tough question, but do you think the Libertarians will get more votes in 2020 than in 2016 or less?
I think so, just because every year that they've been on the ballot, they've gotten more votes.
We went over numbers the other night. The local Libertarian Party meeting.
Well, that's just we know for our local, locally we've grown quite a bit, but
the rate of growth is what's impressive.
Yeah, the rate of growth is pretty impressive. Correct.
Compared to the other parties, it's much greater. The rate of growth.
I think that's probably one of the.
What is the demographics of that growth? Does anybody know? I mean, is it disaffected older voters for Party X or Party Y, or is it youth?
They didn't get into that. Basically, our chair of the Douglas County Libertarian Party, he gets a disc of, with the list of all the registered voters in our county. And so he gave us the numbers last night, and he didn't tell us, it didn't specify male, female, or age. It just, went by numbers, so.
I mean, just anecdotally from what I see at libertarian events, libertarians tend to be on the younger side, probably 40 and younger, typically.
I mean, that's the thing that gave me kind of the most heart when it was when Paul did his last stand. It warmed the cockles of my heart to see so many youth holding up the revolution signs.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just that it was youth, but it was also that they understood, and they had I absolutely loved that revolution sign because it wasn't a divisive thing. It was the youth that were saying, yeah, we are for progressive values that spread love to everybody and give everybody a chance.
Mm-hmm.
Here's a Reason headline from June of 2016. It says, "Millennials bringing more racial diversity to libertarianism. Just over half of self-identified libertarians in the 18 to 29-year-old range are white."
Now, that was another point I was going to bring up, Adam, is, okay, so I said, yes, libertarians, from my personal experience, again, anecdotally, seem to be on the younger side. You know, probably, you know, with the 18 to 36-year-old age group or whatever, you know, whatever, however you want to divide people up. But it's just, you know, it's a lot of white people. I mean, there's no other way to say it. So, I mean, I guess what you're saying is there's a trend of more ethnic minorities becoming, you know, becoming interested in the cause of liberty.
Well, let me see if I can post this pie chart from the Cato Institute. How do I, let's see.
You can probably post it in the group chat part.
Okay. Here we go. Let's see if this works.
I see something. Folder.
Take it. Do you see it? It's a pie chart.
Yeah, I see it.
Okay.
Oh, there it is. Came through.
Give it a look, see. Tell me what you think.
It looks like the general demographics are all with millennials, though. So, I mean,
One side is all millennials, and the other side is millennial libertarians.
Right. Well, that's interesting. My nephew, who's in the group, is 20. He'll be 26.
Oh wow, that is interesting. It's very.
And he's half Asian. I mean, his mom is Korean, and he claims he lives in Washington D.C. and he claims there's a lot of libertarian in his age group. I mean, he's been involved in politics there and stuff, and so that's just anecdotal. But
so what is going on with the Latinos in theirs?
I was struck by that figure
yeah,
too.
that's interesting.
Well, I'm not totally surprised because like we've had some Hispanic people at our Douglas County party meeting. So
and there are a number in our group. I mean, in the LA group.
Yeah, I guess I just find it really interesting that the millennials are joining libertarians at their respective rate.
Right.
That's very interesting.
So let's talk about another demographic, factor is women. Libertarianism is the stereotype of libertarians is it's dudes, it's a sausage party. I mean, obviously we have two lovely women in our podcast group. We have a lot of women in our Facebook group. But
What am I, chopped liver?
Yes.
You probably don't look
Sorry,
very
we didn't mean to assume your
What are
gender,
you
Adam.
You don't have a gimp suit.
What are you wearing, Jeff?
How do you
I've
look?
got the gimp suit. Who cares about what you say?
How do you look in makeup? How do you look in makeup, Adam?
I'm in pomegranate and puce.
Lovely, it's so lovely.
Those are my colors.
Oh.
So I mean, do you think that? Does the group think that women are well represented in the libertarian movement?
Well, we're more represented than we are now. I'm also a member of the Ladies of Liberty Alliance, which is a national group that has local chapters, and we're going to be doing a panel discussion at the Young Convention, incidentally, about that very topic, about women in the liberty movement. But you're right. I mean, but I think it's kind of a newer thing for women to join the libertarian movement because women typically, as feminists, especially like in the 60s and the 70s, were more left, I would imagine, than they were. They'd either be conservative or,
Or leftist.
Yes, and
right.
But they weren't really, centrist.
Instinctively, intuitively, women seek security and, free healthcare and free college, or let's bomb the shit out of the terrorists sounds a lot more appealing than, hey, do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting other people.
And I'm responsible
What are the
for
numbers?
myself. I mean, that's basically the libertarian thing, is I'm responsible for myself. Nobody should be expected to take care of me. And that's hard. A lot of women don't think that way, or they don't want to.
Yeah, they don't want to. Well, and Jeremy and I have had this discussion before a lot because, there was a time when I would have considered myself a feminist, but we're talking about second wave feminists, And, the problem, the SJWs we have now are directly, stem from third wave feminists. And the thing with third wave feminists is that, second wave feminists did their job so well that there's a generation gap. You have women who, their own daughters and stuff didn't, they didn't have to worry about the same kind of issues that their mothers did, so they went out and just started living life the way they wanted to, and a lot of them just got married and had kids and did all the things their mothers did. Well, then, so then you got these third wave feminists who see some kinds of injustices here and there, but don't really have any kind of leadership. They don't have anybody to really guide them or explain what's going on because of the generation gap. So then that's why you have all this craziness that's ended up happening.
They get sucked into the really
it's
radical.
Completely gone off the rails.
There's
So now I would never consider myself a feminist because nobody thinks of feminism as the second wave anymore.
There's some
That's right.
there's some voices that kind of lead the discussion and really are shaping the philosophy of third wave feminism. Also, a lot of people are calling it intersectional feminism because you're taking on the topics or the issues which intersect with the struggle of women, like racism and LGBTQ issues. But those voices that are leading or have just terrible ideas. Bell Hooks is a good example of that. I've read Bell Hooks. Cultural Marxism is not a conspiracy theory simply because anything that she's written I would say is a good crash course in what cultural Marxism is. Taking Marxism.
Yeah, but they're not. They're never going to amount to anything. They'll never amount to anything because they eat their young.
True.
No, I'm serious. Like, they don't worry me. Like, I know a lot of people, and it makes for great YouTube fodder. And I know a lot of people that get really riled up and concerned by this, but they eat their young. I mean, what was it? The Black Lives Matter movement blockaded a gay parade thingy the other day.
Oh, they did. I didn't hear that.
Yeah, because it was like, you got yours. Now
it's our turn.
How dare you try to take the spotlight off of us? We're the oppressed ones still. So they eat their young.
Yeah.
They can't help but do it. But I guess this is kind of I'm gonna do you a solid, Kern. I'm gonna try and bring it back to free speech.
I've let the train derail, so keep going.
I guess what I find so ironic about all these movements is that they fight for the absolute opposite, antithetical of what their forefathers fought for.
Yeah.
So I am woman, hear me roar. I am weak, you must protect me. You have to shelter me from ideas that might offend me, might trigger me, I want society to be judged on not the color of their skin, but the content of their character. Where's my safe space so that I can have, I want my colored only drinking fountain.
And the dangerous spot for that now, where it should not exist, is the university setting. University setting should be a place where ideas that are not comfortable are heard, are voiced, and it's being shut down. Things I could say at university, I would not dare to say if I was a full-time student, because at my old university, there's this software now in place where people can anonymously report a person for some alleged bias. So they can have some committee come in and question them, and they can be booted out of school. They can get their academic career canceled, and they'll have to go some other place, which could set them back. So why raise your head? Why say anything? And it's a dangerous thing to get involved with, because if they set up that kind of system where free speech is shut down, what then?
Then it's a propaganda machine, basically. They're just propagandizing.
Any of these tools that they think are so great to use, which they weren't against the tools when Obama was in office of using certain things. Now someone's in power, they can use them for things they don't think should happen. So I'm very leery. Go ahead.
I'm sorry, no, I cut you off.
No, it scares me that people think this stuff is all right, that there shouldn't be a problem. And as some of my old professors, they're very cautious now what they say around their students, and they're geology professors. They don't go anywhere near anything political. They stay away from it. They talk science, and that's it.
But see, I see that already starting to get pushed back, and I see it getting pushed back by enrollment. and by alumni. Right? Like
Oh, yeah,
a lot of the school's funding comes from alumni and obviously from enrollment. And you might think Brown would be the greatest university ever, but your parents are the ones paying for it, and they don't want to put you in a school that has a bunch of retards running it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? I read recently that Brown has lost a third of their budget.
Wow.
Just from alumni and enrollment alone.
Right.
So, and they had to send out a flyer to all the students and all the alumni begging, please, please, please. And basically the alumni and the parents were like, the kid brings home and he goes, Mom, Dad, I got accepted to Brown. And they're like, that's great. Who else, though? So, I mean, again, the market has the odds stacked against it, but the market still speaks.
Which is good.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad to hear that that's happening, because that form my old university had, I actually filled out one of those forms. Basically, and my explanation was, this is the most idiotic thing that the school has come up with, and this is killing free speech. Of course, there's
a website called heterodoxy.com, or maybe it's .org, I can't remember. And I would encourage you to check that out, because it's started by a formerly avowed liberal professor who got alarmed at the lack of diverse viewpoints, and I'm going to forget his name, I'll post it later. But he started a website saying, okay, first of all, because you can go to Forbes and you can go to all these places and you can see what's the diversity ratio, what's the number of students to the teacher ratio, and he started a website where you can go and see what's the diversity of opinion that is present but also allowable, right? So when Chicago sent that one out saying, we don't believe in free spaces or safe spaces, we don't believe in coddling you, and if you come here, you're not going to get that. They went right to the top of the list of like, okay, so this is if you want a diverse, basically, because diversity is welcome in all shapes and forms except in viewpoint right now. Mm-hmm. So heterodoxy.org is set up to show people where you can still find that diversity of opinions and views.
That's interesting. I'm going to look that up.
That's great. Well, so it's a good thing that we've kind of brought the topic back on, back to where we started. But we have hit that hour and a half mark. It was a good discussion.
Yep, so I guess we'll wrap up the recording now, and